cracklings. So I promised that I would do my music library alphabet, and this is part 2, the letter B. And starting off that list is going to be Bachman-Turner Overdrive, which was a popular rock group out of Canada in the 70s, and I blame Supernatural for that. The next one is Bad Brains, which is a reggae-influenced punk band, pretty popular in the 80s, that was started in Washington, D.C. They have a lot of kind of political sound to them, and I've only listened to a little bit of their stuff, but they're a good band and worth mentioning. Next one is Bad Company, which is a hard rock, kind of supergroup English rock band that had members branching off of Mott the Hoople and King Crimson, and so they're also one I blame Supernatural for, because the first 4 seasons of Supernatural I got all of the music for and introduced me to a lot of bands I wouldn't have heard of otherwise. Out of my records, I was sent the vinyl for Basket Case's original motion picture soundtrack, which is impressive seeing as I've never cared over much for this film, but I was given this as a gift from my favorite record store, and that was very nifty. So, for anyone who likes ridiculous movies from the 80s. Next one is Bauhaus, and I have so much love for Bauhaus. I mean, they're a post-punk English band, active only 4 years, from 1979 to 1983, before they disbanded. And after fashion, I've technically seen them live because I've seen Peter Murphy, I've seen David J a couple of times, and then I saw Pop Tone, which is Daniel Ash and Kevin Haskins and Kevin's daughter. And so technically I've seen all of Bauhaus, just in 3 separate parts. But this was one of the best records that I've ever found, for $5, because there's a big crack going through one of them, and it still plays because apparently I wish the record well. It decided it liked me. So this was a great find, and it has all their best hits. And it has every song of theirs that I love, with the exception of Who Killed Mr. Moonlight, because David J sung that one, so it's not included on this instead of Peter Murphy. The next one is Morte, and they're out of Charlottesville, South Carolina, and they're kind of gothic rock. And the lead guy, Andy Dean, he's like amongst the musician friend group that I know secondhand. Anyway, they're very, very nice people, and they put on a good show. And I just saw them a couple of months ago. Next one is Billy Idol, who I actually missed out on seeing, which is incredibly disappointing because I bought the ticket and then was sick and didn't go. But, I mean, he's a classic. Also has a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. Spike's haircut came from Billy Idol, but he has several very, very popular songs, including his days in Generation X, such as Dancing with Myself and Rebel Yell and White Wedding. So he's definitely fun, and he still looks amazing. I'm very mad at him for it. Next one is the Birthday Massacre. They're out of Toronto. They're kind of a dark wave band. They were originally called MAssacre, based off of a Clive Barker novel, which is crazy cool. And I've seen them live a couple of times. They always put on a really good show. Chibi's got this high, sweet voice, and then they have this really intense guitar sound, and I really love them. All their music kind of sounds the same, but considering what it is, I don't complain too much about that. Next one is The Birthday Party, which was Nick Cave's original band. And I mean, this is like hardcore post-punky stuff out of Australia, from 1978 until 1983, when it shifted over to Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, which is a band I'll go into more later. The next one is Bjork, and she is strange. Bjork is an Icelandic singer, DJ, experimental poetess. I don't know. I only have 2 of her albums, and that is Medulla and Post. And Post is kind of her most commercially accessible one, and it has Army of Me, which, if you've seen Sucker Punch, there's a great remix of that. And she's very, very peculiar, but I really like her. She's a little weird. Next is Black Glass. They're an indie, kind of dark wave-ish band out of, I believe, Seattle. And I just saw them a couple of months ago, met them. They party hard. I like their sound. They're a fun one. Another one would be hang on, if I can get my brain to work. That's not, well, Billy Joel. I forgot to include Billy Joel, as I nearly skim past him and the records that I stole from my dad. Anyway, sorry. The next one is actually Black Flag, which is a hardcore punk group based out of LA. They've had a couple of different singers. The one that everybody knows, loves, and remembers is usually Henry Rollins, who has the Henry Rollins Band as a different thing. Anyway, they're great. Including more on bands that have the title of Blakk is Black Audio. This is actually signed by Jade Puget and Davey Havok. Davey Havok, if you don't already know, is also the lead singer of AFI. So this is a fun band as well. They're more of a synth pop duo. They kind of have a different aesthetic and different sound completely from AFI. So I figured that they were also worth mentioning. Another one that I got into more recently is Blackmore's Night, which is a pagan folk band that were founded in 1997, and I've only just barely started listening to them, so I don't know their music that well, but it has a lot of, well, it's pagan folk music, so it has a lot of wind instruments and very ethereal aesthetics, and it's kind of lullaby-ish. It's a little odd. Next one would be Black Sabbath, you know, one of the original hard rock metal groups out of England in the 60s, and I saw them last year for their final tour, and they're one of those bands that I know the songs that everyone knows, but I've never listened to really intensely, and I appreciate what they've done. Another one is Black Veil Brides, and I get so many people that used to ask me if I listen to Black Veil Brides, and the thing is, I saw them once when they were opening for the Birthday Massacre when I was 17. I was like, cool, I've seen them, I don't need to do that again. Mostly because the group of the fans and how the fans reacted to the band made me feel a little sick to my stomach because it's very too much for me. Their music is fine. It's whatever. I've heard stuff like it, and I've heard stuff like it that's better personally, and so I can't care. But that's just me. Anyway, moving on. The next one is Blitzkid, which is a very classic horror punk band out of West Virginia. And while I have not seen Blitzkid, I have seen one of their founders, Argyle Goolsby, tour multiple times, and he's always fun. And I mean, they're horror punk. I love horror punk. They're making references to movies I love. Of course, what's not to love? Next one, who I have a little bit too much love for, is Blondie. I have kind of a girl crush on Debbie Harry because she's amazing. She is a punk princess, and they're just one of the coolest bands out of New York City I know, and there's too many people that don't listen to them, and it makes me really, really sad, and so I'm constantly trying to get people to listen to Blondie, because for some reason, people nowadays don't know Heart of Glass, and that's a crime. So Blondie's great. I mean, they're kind of in the new wave, but they were part of the original punks out of New York City in the mid-70s, so they're great. Another one is Bloody Dead and Sexy, which is a German death rock band. I don't know a ton about them, but Bad Ambient is a great album, and they're very interesting to listen to if you like darkwave or gothic rock bands. Another one is Blue Oyster Cult. Oh, this is the Blues Brothers soundtrack, which I didn't realize I had. So apparently I have the Blues Brothers soundtrack. I think it was $1, and I like John Landis. That was how I found this movie. Anyway, what I really meant to grab was Blue Oyster Cult. And at the very least, I have to thank my friend for finding this at a tag sale for $1, because this is the record that has Don't Fear the Reaper, which, again, Supernatural. Thank you for introducing me. But I mean, they're a standard hard rock band. I cannot remember where they're from. I want to say England, but I really can't remember. Anyway, this record's from 1976. Don't Fear the Reaper's a classic. They also have all kinds of other weird ideas for their music. I don't know. My brain's 90,000 places. Anyway, next is Blutengel, and they are a darkwave German band founded in the late 90s. They usually play at some of those big German music festivals like Merluna and We've Gothic Treffen, and I'd like to see them eventually one day. Next is Blur, which is an English rock band, kind of pop band. I don't know, I just barely started listening to them and been introduced to them through Greg Araki films and meant to listen to them more, so I figured they were worth noting. Next up is Bryan Eno, who is an experimental musician, usually with electronica. He was one of the founding members of Roxy Music with the next person on our list, Ferry, who also is a electronic and pop artist. Both of them are big key components of the glam movement, which I have a soft spot in my heart for, which should be evident considering my love for another musician. Next one, and the last one on this list, oh, hang on, there's also Breaking Glass, Hazel O'Connor's score for a punk film that I like. This was a fun dollar find that I figured I would show off for a second. Anyway, last one on here is Burning Brides. I don't know that much about them. I just know that they are a hard rock band, and I believe that they are Canadian. I was introduced to them through the vampire comedy from 2009 called Suck, that I'm trying to convince everybody to watch because it includes a lot of great musicians in it, and it's really funny and stupid. Anyway, I breezed through this a little bit, but that is a bunch more bands that I listen to that start with the letter B. Till next time, Darklings.